Hi everyone, I am Tarigulu Khasizada, and today we will discuss about leveraging Power BI for financial reporting and analysis. First of all, I would like to say thank you to Mr. Ilgar Zarbaliev for accepting my application to share my knowledge in this event, which is the 6th Global Power Platform Bootcamp held in Baku. So first of all, I would like to talk about myself a little bit. So I currently work as finance digitalization expert at Ferrero Luxembourg office, and I have more than 6 years of experience in finance and accounting, and I have been involving in different reporting and analytics projects using Power BI, Excel, Tableau, and other Power Platform tools. And that's why I have a proficiency in Microsoft based tools, basically. And on top of that, I adhered the Agile and Scrum methodologies, so to help the projects go further faster, let's say. And on top of that, I have a company called Zen Analytics, and with Zen Analytics, I try to spread the knowledge of Microsoft tools, specifically Power BI. And in today's agenda, we have introduction and then data preparation and modeling best practices in terms of accounting and finance, visualizing financial statements, and then integrating data from SAP via Excel exports, and then Q&A and discussion. And if we go deeper, you can see that the subheadings of our topics. So in the introduction, we will discuss about the Power BI's roles in finance and accounting. And second, in terms of data preparation and modeling best practices, we will discuss which techniques we can use to structure and model financial data. Of course, I'm not talking about the financial modeling, but collecting data from different systems and then pulling it to the Power BI and trying to build meaningful reports. And then best practices for data cleaning, specifically in Power Query and also in the source. So which techniques we should use to arrive to the better shaped data. And on the third chapter, we will discuss about the visualizing financial statements. So how we can create dynamic profit and loss statements or P&L, and also interactive balance sheets, which will be also demonstrated on the demo section of my presentation. And here I will talk about the highlighting key financial KPIs, which is also very important. And on the demo section, we will have opportunity to discuss how to export data from SAP and to the Excel in a traditional way, and why we cannot use other methods, why they are costly. So here we talk about the process of exporting data from SAP into Excel, discussing common challenges such as data integration, consistency, and some security concerns. Also, how we can build different strategies to optimize and streamline data handling with our existing resources, because not always we will have all the resources to access the report data sources. And finally, we will address your questions if you have any. So to start with, I would like to talk about the Power BI's role in finance and accounting. Of course, Power BI is on the market for many years, and it is used for different purposes, for sales, for marketing, for accounting, finance, and more. So it is applied for different purposes. So you can build operational reports and then strategic reports or whatever you imagine. So I have discovered that Power BI can be a very useful tool to visualize finance and accounting data and help different levels of management to handle different tasks, basically. So my focus on this presentation will be mainly about two reports, profit and loss and balance sheet statement. So just to refresh our knowledge about the profit and loss. So according to Investopedia, the profit and loss statement is also known as income statement. You might heard about it. Is a financial statement that summarizes revenues, costs, expenses, and profit losses of a company during a specified period. So this information or this table gives information about the overall state of the company, how profitable we are, and are we moving towards the profit making or towards our goals. So to visualize this and to give more insights and to give possibility to drill down to our costs and revenue items, so is very valuable for the businesses. And on the other hand, we have a balance sheet, which is also a financial statement, and it provides a snapshot of what company is doing. So what owns and what owes, basically assets and liabilities. So balance sheet is very useful to conduct financial analytics. And on top of that, you can build a lot of financial ratios, which can be built in Power BI and traditionally built in Excel. Of course, building ratios is easier in Excel, but for the long term, Power BI is valuable. So you can crunch large amount of data and get trend analysis and see the evolution of different ratios. So in terms of Power BI's roles in finance and accounting, we can, of course, list some benefits. So what are these benefits for a given team? Let's go through it. First, it helps to enhance the decision making. So if you have achieved building a streamlined Power BI environment where from the data source to the Power BI service, you have a smooth flow of data, so it will be very useful for the management to immediately get insights about the business. So that's why they can make different decisions or investigate specific numbers easily and visually. So that's why it's very important. And on top of that, of course, you will get what we can call streamlined financial reporting. So imagine you get the data, you transform it, you model it, and you do it once, of course, and then all the reporting process is automated, let's say, and you streamline your financial reporting. So it means you put in one, let's say, order, and when you refresh your data, you get all the insights at once. So you do not basically rely on independent processes or Excel workbooks, etc. So you are in one process which can generate different reports. And sometimes if you invest enough, so you can have real-time data analysis of also. So it can give you a very nice, let's say, the competitive edge when you are specifically in an environment where you want to get real-time data, for example, credit reporting or something like that, which you want to track who is paying, who is not paying, what is the outstanding amount of debt, etc. And additionally, Power BI can help teams to build advanced data visualization solutions. Here we have default visuals And on top of that, we have custom visuals and third-party visuals like Zebra BI or InfoRiver, etc. So they can really help specifically to visualize actual budget scenarios and help controlling teams and accounting teams to analyze data better and deep dive to the lowest level of granularity, let's say. And as I mentioned, you can visualize budgeting and forecasting and compare actual budget and immediately get sense of data, how you're achieving, etc. And Power BI is supporting hundreds of data sources. Of course, in modern world, we have, let's say, famous data sources like Excel or SQL, etc., CSV files. But in a perfect environment, I would say, so you can have data sources coming from the databases instead of Excel files, and it can help you to make a better reporting environment. Unfortunately, we usually rely on Excel files, but it can be even made better. And of course, Power BI helps to automate the reporting process. When we say automate, actually, it's basically helping build a flow of reporting process. Of course, you will need people to build the report and maintain and fix the problems, maybe scale up to the different entities. But in general, the Power BI will automate at least the data preparation and report generation. So you will provide the data either in Excel or let's say the server, any server, and then you will have opportunity to automate the process. Every time you can refresh and get new data easily. And on top of that, when we say automation, actually you can integrate Power Apps and Power Automate to the Power BI reporting environment and perform some advanced operations like dataset refresh or querying against the dataset, so to have a better solutions. And in the end, when audit requires you to provide different insights into your reporting system, Power BI will be very helpful because you know the steps, and also you can create different reports for your auditors, basically. So you can see that Power BI can help people in terms of operations, and also it can help people to be more digital and improve their digitalization skills and move forward easily. And moving forward, I would like to discuss about the data preparation and modeling best practices. So here, I imagine that we address to the Power BI developers. So when you're working with finance and accounting data, so you should pay attention to the items below. First, of course, you should clean your data if you are starting, let's say, recently. So try to use Power Query Editor to merge and append and use different functionalities, and the power of M language to enhance your data transformation and cleaning capabilities. And then I think it is important to pay attention to data types. To give an example, you might have, let's say, account number or general ledger account number, and it can be alphanumeric. So if you don't pay attention to that, so you might fall into a trap setting its data type as a number, but then you will get errors. So you should use data profiling tools to address these questions earlier. And you should be able to handle missing and inconsistent data, because the accounting environment is very dynamic, and you can get very unexpected scenarios where you have missing data or unexpected value or outlier value. So you should analyze it in Power Query and then move your data to data model, basically. And you should pay attention to the amount of rows and columns. Sometimes you will not need to bring all the rows and columns to your data model because it's not necessary. And you should always pay attention to the optimization and the performance of your report, because many people will be using your reports, and if you have slow report, and it will be very dangerous. I recently witnessed one report where it was taking around 12, 13 seconds for the management to see the report, and they didn't want to use it. You can imagine it's just 10 seconds, but people get annoyed and give up. So you should remove unnecessary columns and rows. So that's why actually you should have a plan what you want to build. But in our case, our plan is to build a Power BI report for P&L and balance sheet. And then you should pay attention to the data validation and the integrity process, because you will use different tables. For example, maybe a responsible people table or mapping table, mapping of GL accounts, etc. And in this case, you will need to have a data integrity in place where you can track if your GL accounts are renewed or removed. So if your data is matching with different systems, so data should be validated, and integrity of the data should be set up, basically. So it depends on you how you track it, but it is important for financial statements in Power BI. And you should document your transformation steps, because it is important for audit purposes also, and also the future of the process, because if someone asks what is the logic behind of this transformation, you should be able to answer it. And that's why you should use different functionalities in Power BI, like a description or commenting, to achieve more and not to forget what you did a couple of weeks ago. And from data cleaning and preparation, we move to structuring and data modeling. So as a traditional advice, you should stick to the star schema design as much as possible. And from the standard Power BI fields, let's say, you should try to utilize measures and calculated columns. Measures are kind of a logical calculations, which lets you to create flexible formulas where you can use them in different environments. And calculated columns actually exist in Power Query, also the Power BI data model, where you can easily create and use, but you should pay attention, because calculated columns are usually loading the data model, so you shouldn't create excessive amount of columns, but according to your needs. And then you should incorporate time intelligence, because for every financial reporting solution, time intelligence is important, because you will calculate year-to-date or year-over-year calculations and comparisons and percentage calculations. So you should pay attention to have this in your model. And you should also pay attention to the data granularity, because sometimes you don't need too much granularity. In our scenarios, it can be, for example, do you need GL account level, or do you need the bookings made to this GL account and more? So, or maybe you need just to have a traditional balance sheet or P&L where you have just the main captions, that's it. You don't need all the details. So in these scenarios, you should be careful, because if you don't need that much detail, so maybe you are just doing extra work and bringing more data for nothing. So you should pay attention to that. And actually it affects your relationships in your data model. So because you build your relationships on top of the, let's say, the available fields. So if you have inconsistent granularity, for example, even for your calendar table, in one hand you have days, in another table you have only years, so you will have inconsistency. So you should pay attention to that one. And finally, optimize data model, so you can use performance analyzer and other Dark Studio or other tools where you can optimize your data model. But from the beginning till the end, you should always have this idea that my report should be fast, data model should be lightweight. So if you pay attention to this point, I think you will have faster performing reports for sure. And we move to chapter 3, where I would like to talk about visualizing financial statements. So when you visualize financial statements, you can pay attention to these 3 major parts. So first, you can create dynamic profit and loss statement or balance sheet statement, and then you can design and add interactive elements. Here I mentioned balance sheet, but of course this interactivity can exist for P&L as well. And you can have main financial KPIs on your report, mainly on top of the report, to grab attention of the viewer easily and send a key message. So in the first part, I recommend to use dynamic calculations using data analysis expressions, DAX in short, because to have a meaningful Power BI P&L and balance sheet, you will definitely need comparison, because finance and accounting likes to have comparison of data based on different periods. So if you don't have it, so you don't give too much information. So that's why it is important to use this formula language or query language. So in Power BI, currently you can use visual calculations, calculation groups, measures, calculated tables, calculated columns. So all are existing. So do not hesitate to use them. And you can build interactive visuals, and interactivity can be edited. So one visual can filter or highlight another one, and which we will see on our demo report. So interactivity helps people to play with the different visuals and data points and explore hidden gems, let's say. And the most favorite part of accounting and finance reporting, I would say, is conditional formatting. You know that in Power BI you can apply different conditional formatting based on the color, font color, or background and data bars, etc. So definitely use it, because it can help you to detect different thresholds, etc., which I will mention later also. And also for the balance sheet, of course, we have the same scenario here, but for the balance sheet, you can build different hierarchies like assets, liabilities, and current, non-current, etc., to come to the conclusion easily. And of course, for these scenarios, usually you use another table or mapping table, usually it's called. So as I mentioned, when you are using mapping table, you should be very careful not to miss any account number, etc., just to visualize all the data, let's say, because if you miss something, you will have empty lines and users will get annoyed, specifically when you streamline the whole process, and it will be very, let's say, lost investment for you. And you can use different visualization enhancement, and it means different tooltips, drill through, and other functionalities like tooltips as a page. So here you can give more information to the users. And I had mentioned earlier also dynamic time comparison. Just focus on time intelligence functions in DAX, and it will give you more power to calculate year-to-date, month-to-date, and quarter-to-date. And also you can use date and time functions to build your calendar, etc. And finally, you can use, let's say, the famous KPI or key performance indicator visuals to visualize the main data before going into more details. So in Power BI, you have KPI cards, you have new card and traditional ones and gauge and KPI visual itself and multi-row KPI card. And there are many third-party KPI cards existing in app stores where you can download and also try that one. And for your KPIs, you can put dynamic thresholds. So if it is above given percentage or amounts, it gives you a warning sign, etc. And here also you can add interactivity to your report to alarm people, let's say. So here the main goal is to help people, help businesses to capture the trends or anomalies or outliers and let them know where are the major transitions period over period or year over year, whatever it is. So in accounting and finance, people really like to see comparisons, to see where the difference is coming from. And I think Power BI is very useful to help us to detect. Of course, the visual quality of the work is important, but what I have seen, usually people choose quality of the numbers or insights over quality of the, let's say, the visual effectiveness or visual attractiveness. So you can have very nice report built for your accounting team or very nice functionality, but they can say that, okay, it is nice, but it should deliver the message, not the aesthetic only. So that's why you should keep the balance also. And finally, before we move to the demo, I would like to talk about the. Let's continue with from SAP to Power BI and what are the challenges and how we can build strategies. And then we will review Power BI report sample for P&L and balance sheet. Basically, all the financial reporting require the data source. So usually it is ERP system and you are limited to export data. If you're lucky, you will have access to the main data source, maybe the SQL server or something, but what I have seen, it's usually limited. So you need to have data extracted to Excel, and then you can do some maybe SAP scripting if it is a load, and then automate the process. So that is one of the famous challenges I have seen so far. So you should keep in mind that you may face with such challenge that exporting data, or we can say accessing the data, is problem. So next to the building the report. And on the other hand, we have common challenges such as data integration, I had mentioned before, consistency, and data security. And data security, it can come from the IT side as well. So you might not be allowed to have access to every table you want. So you might be provided with, let's say, the like staging tables or the data warehouses or something like this. So some companies might use modern solutions. Instead of giving you access to the database itself, they can give you access to the data warehouse or other solutions. So you should work with IT very closely to understand and explain, so to understand the challenges from their side and explain your requirements clearly. So keep in mind these two. And also in this limited environment, you can build some strategies to optimize your process. For example, instead of storing your data in the shared folder in the physical laptop, so you can use cloud. For example, you can store your file in SharePoint or OneDrive and then connect to Power BI and utilize more functionalities. Of course, the ideal is to connect to the data source, which is consistent, and you can refresh it and get the data real time. But if it is limited, so you need to utilize second or third level automation and optimization methods. And in my case, in one scenario, for example, moving the Excel from desktop, let's say the laptop, to the SharePoint had helped me to have schedule refresh easier because you don't need gateways, because sometimes you can not even download the data gateway for your simple report. So just to keep in mind that you will have such limitations, and you should turn these limitations into opportunities, of course. And now I think we talked enough, and now we will review the Power BI report, which I have brought for you to just see some functionalities and have some ideas. So basically, let's see the report. So here you can see two views. First one is P&L and second one is balance sheet. And here, what functionalities exist? So I want to start with this one. And also just to give overview in the shade of what we talked. So as you notice, this is dynamic, so it dynamically responds to slicers and periods. For example, you select different period and it shows you the different data points. And here I had mentioned about the period and the KPIs and percentage increase, etc. So you can notice that in terms of P&L, you have net sales, EBIT, earning before taxes, and net result. And in the single band, you can see 1, 2, 3, and 12 data points, I would say, but in a nice way. So it's not making you tired, but giving you context, because there is a comparison between current period and previous period and more. Also, you have a last refresh date just to give people some ideas when it was refreshed, and because it can be late also. And here you can see the waterfall chart, which is very famous for the financial reporting. And what I had used here, I had added the functionality of bookmarks to have a year over year, month over month, the month over month and the table visual. So the table visual gives you more, let's say, the details. So in terms of different values and comparisons. So if someone wants to see the detailed view, so they can go there and check. And in terms of, let's say, the basic understanding, okay, what is the evolution of our net result from one period to another and up and downs. So this one can be used definitely. And in terms of the balance sheet, so we have the almost similar design. And here you can see the assets, equity, and total liabilities. And these numbers should match, of course. And here we see the balance sheet. Of course, the color can be discussed and improved, but you can see here the data for assets, liabilities, and basically for the period 12, you have this breakdown, and for period 11, you have this breakdown and the legend here. And if I'm not mistaken, we have also the same functionality where you can use a table to better understand your asset and how it is structured. So basically, you have non-current, current equity, non-current liabilities, and current liabilities. And here, when you choose different companies, so you can have basically the dynamic response and new data. And you can see that here I have used the conditional formatting, but based on the measure value, there is such functionality which lets you to have the dynamic thresholds and detect and highlight certain values. So here, if you want to see the breakdown or if you want to better understand, so basically the visuals I have used is a matrix visual and the KPI visual. Let me show you here. KPI, a card visual, new, and here for the visuals, you can see that this is actually stacked column chart, but using the groups functionality of Power BI, I have actually achieved to have such a view. So you can see that here I'm using let me show you. I have a lot of measures, posting period, and you can see that here I have used groups to achieve this view, because balance sheet view itself is complicated, so to achieve you need to use some tricks. And if you go back to the P&L, you can see that this view is created using a simple waterfall visual, which is a custom visual you can get from App Source. So with the help of that, I have created measures and visualized this view. Of course, this visual is a bit limited, but it helps to see the breakdown. And I would recommend to use the card new visual because it has a lot of customization, let's say the functionalities. So you can use reference labels, as you can see, and detail if you want to have very nice visuals. And cards can be also formatted. And these ones are slicers, of course. Overall, you can see that with the help of Power BI, you can visualize your balance sheet and P&L and achieve more, let's say, the functionality and have more information about what is going on. And as you saw in different views, you can have drill down options, etc. So I hope this demo also gave you some ideas how you can create financial reports using Power BI and achieve more. So if you have any questions, so feel free to ask. And in the end, I would like to say thank you to the all organizers, and specifically Ilgar Zarbaliyev for his contribution to Azerbaijani data community. I believe this event will be very successful and will bring more opportunities to our country and the global Power BI community. Thank you very much and see you on the next meetups.